Hello and welcome everyone. This is Phoenix with your Patriot Health Report for the weekend of November 2nd. Oh yeah, all of the health facts you need to know for the Patriot on the go. Hope you guys are doing well, and we are back again with Bob Gilpatrick of Boomers Forever Young. And Bob is joining us live, live while I'm recording this. And we're recording this on Friday, the 1st of November. And of course it'll be played, if you're listening to it now, on the 2nd, on Saturday. And we're going to get right into it. The title of today's program, as you can see, Make America Healthy Again. What's this about? Well, let's ask the man himself, Bob Gilpatrick. Bob, how are you? How are things going down in Florida? And real briefly, before we get into this, because we're just still on the heels of these two hurricanes that greatly affected you guys down there. What's going on down there? Recovery? What's the status before we get into this?
Yeah, so Florida is, in the midst of recovery, hoping that there's no more destruction before the hurricane season is over. And we did get hit with the two worst hurricanes of the last 100 years, right within 10 days of each other. So there's a lot of destruction and a lot of people who are looking for new places to live, looking to restore their houses from all the damage, get new cars, et cetera, et cetera. And some people are in mourning for people who died during that time. And so where I am in St. Petersburg, it was affected by both of those storms. And so one right after another, and people thought they were in the clear after the first storm, and then it turns out they weren't. The second storm, by the way it was structured, caused a lot of damage to their place. Some people got damage from the first storm, not the second storm, but nonetheless, tens of thousands of homes were destroyed or damaged. And so right now here on the weekend of, the 2nd of November, there's construction crews everywhere, people helping people get a place to live and things like that. So the mood is weird, It's like people are now tired because it's been a little while and it's required a lot of work and getting through things. And so now this week, towards the end of the week here, you get this sense that people are very weary. When you go around town, people are moving slow, their heads are hanging down, they're just trying to get through. So it's kind of a weird weekend here, but I do believe that if we get through the hurricane season with no more damage, that things will start to pick up and the holidays will help to cheer people up. And by that time, we'll have moved forward where some people will be able to move back into their houses and that type of thing.
Oh, very good. That's the thing about the human spirit, the human psyche, and people kind of come together, they help each other out, and we can overcome a lot. I mean, we have been probably facing near extinction more times than we know of in what history they call now. A little interesting human interest story around those same lines, Bob, is in North Carolina, where they got hit really heavy. Turns out they had the early voting was like one of the biggest voter turnouts they've ever had. And a lot of the people who were there in line voting didn't have a house. They literally had their entire homes wiped out. Some of them lost loved ones, and it didn't matter to them. They went and showed up to vote. Some of them with just a bottle of water in their hand and like a bag of stuff that they had received. And, are living at friends' house or in shelters, but they still went out to vote. I mean, the human spirit and the human strength, I mean, we can really alter things and change things. Now, before we get into Make America Healthy Again, quickly, or not so quickly, it's at your leisure. Anything going on at Boomers? I mean, you got sales. You have anything special going on that we need to know before we get going so we don't forget about it?
Well, we're going to be starting a new sale right on Election Day on the 5th. And so if you're listening here on Saturday or Sunday or Monday on, 2024, the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th, the sale won't have started yet. So check back into the website or call us on Tuesday. And what we're going to do is, because we received a large shipment from Canada last week, and it was, all of our barley and probiotics and lignans. And then yesterday we received a new shipment of Boomer Boost. So we're really happy that just before November here, we were able to get good sized shipments of those products. And so we're going to put those on sale coming up beginning on Election Day, and people will be able to get the best prices of the year on those products, on heirloom barley, gladiator barley, and Boomer Boost, and even a little better if you buy them in a combo. And we'll give incentives for people to be on auto ship, things like that. So that will be real important. Those are our two best-selling products, with the third one being Myatrol, which is already on sale. So it's not going to be put on a further sale. But that's what's going to happen coming up. And
very good. Yeah, very cool. That's, you're doing it on Election Day, and there have already been reports here in the United States, and a lot of our listeners listening to this will realize this: voter machines aren't functioning properly. They press a button, and they're trying to vote for one candidate, and it switches it to the other candidate. I hope you don't have a situation when your things go on sale, Bob, that when people go on the website and they click on, like, let's say, Boomer's Boost or Barley, and all of a sudden it, like, clicks over to candy bars. You're going to have that problem, are you?
We had that, but Halloween is over.
Okay.
So we took all the candy off the website.
Yeah, everybody, that's a joke. Bob would not have candy on his website. But anyway, I was saying, I think weird stuff when you're talking sometime. You're like, it's Election Day sale. I'm like, I'll take Boomer's Boost. Boom. Donuts. I don't want donuts. Yeah, right. Anyway, all right, enough of that. I'm sorry. I'm getting started earlier today. Anyway, with the joking and distraction, and I'll try not to do that as we go forward. Anything else before we get on topic, Bob?
No, just I think, it's, we've been talking about our Myatrol product for quite a while, and we've gotten, some amazing testimonials. And I don't know if we've talked on this show about it, Phoenix. We had one lady who called in to make absolute certain that we were going to have Myatrol in stock so she could get it every single month, because all the pain had gone away in her knees that were bone on bone. The pain in her shoulders she'd had for years was gone. And this lady, 75 years old, and she was just like, this is the greatest thing that's ever been invented. And make sure that we're going to have enough. So she put this onto the auto ship program, the subscription program, and asked if when she goes to heaven, if we have a plan to be able to ship Myatrol to heaven.
Oh my gosh. That's funny. That's hilarious. But you know what? That's amazing too. Like you said, and we've mentioned this before in a couple of the health reports about, you're really not sure. You're getting all kinds of interesting reports and the physiological differences in everyone. Some will be affected more so or less than others. And that's really interesting, that her pain, and of course, again, it's anti-inflammatory, etc. You've explained that to us before, so I could see that. But the bone-on-bone pain
Yeah.
and going away. That's really a great testimony. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. She's a great lady. And, but yeah, that's really, about it in regard to the news from here. And perhaps if there's a few listeners that have used our product called Clarity Factor in the past, which is a really good nootropic, the supplier that makes it is not making it anymore. Did not give us enough advance notice to find a new supplier, so we've been out for a month, and we probably are going to be out for another month before the new supplier is able to deliver it to us. But other than that, all our products are in stock, which is a really good thing. A lot of websites you go on, you see out of stock, out of stock, out of stock. Still a lot of supply chain issues. And right at the moment, with the exception of that Clarity Factor, which is on the way, everything is in stock and we have plenty of it.
The issue with things not being in stock or supply chains, a lot of people don't realize it's not just like when Bob says we have supply chain issues. That may not be, the production of the actual product to Bob. The truck's not running right or they can't get it. It's sometimes the main ingredients and some of the different ingredients that go in these products. Because when you're looking at something, especially Boomer's Boost, that's so complex. You have so many different things in there. And I'm sure it doesn't come from one place. It's got to come from multiple places all around. And I mean, just you take something so detailed and complex like Boomer's Boost. I think, okay, just, don't be mad if I'm wrong, but 88 different vitamins and minerals in there, products. Is it 88, Bob?
68.
68. Okay, I got the 8 right. Mm-hmm. And but still, that's 68 opportunities for system failure. I mean, for supply chain. Yeah. So anyway, the fact you guys do keep this stuff on the shelf, and every once in a while you do have a couple glitches, I was just it's part of what's going on in the world today. But anyway, well, I'm glad everything's good, and you got that resupply coming in for that. What else? What else we got here?
No, I was also just going to say, Phoenix, if you got, if people are listening who are from the mountains in North Carolina, especially over in Western North Carolina or Georgia or Florida, and you've been experiencing, fatigue and anxiety from the trauma of the storms, go to our website and at the top left of the site, click on the search icon, and when the bar pops up, type in Havening, Havening. And Havening is a technique that helps tremendously with trauma, and it works very simply as a technique where you gently rub your hands together, rub your arms, and you can repeat very powerful phrases for yourself, and they have the research on why it works, and it works by changing, brain waves in a particular part of your brain that's associated with trauma, and it totally calms the situation down for you. So if you're listening and you or someone is in the region where the storms were, or just in general, if you're having any type of trauma or anxiety for other reasons, maybe the election, you can use Havening as well.
That's really good. Thank you for bringing that up. But you know what? The question I have is, why in the world would anyone have anxiety about the election, Bob? I don't understand that. You think people?
Yeah, I don't either. I figure, if one party wins, we're on the road to paradise, and if the other party wins, it's because we're supposed to be in purgatory.
Well, and the difficulty of that is both sides, they see their road to paradise and the other purgatory. So
I know.
Therein is the problem.
That's right. So you get to choose a side and you still have the same scenario.
Oh, man, you can't make this stuff up. Havening, everyone. you should hand out brochures on how to do it at the election polls. People say, "Well,
Yeah.
you can't hand out a political material here." Like, oh no, this isn't political.
This is a mental health.
This is a mental health issue. I actually saw one commentator who's saying, we are suffering from, we're about to suffer from the greatest mental health issue crises that this nation has ever seen. I actually said that. Anyway,
it's very true. Very true.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, I tell you what, we don't want to. This isn't about the election, everyone.
No, it's about making America healthy again.
There you go. Has nothing to do with the election or anything like that. We're just going to make America healthy again. You got hats?
That's right.
Do you have hats to go with that? Make America healthy again. Oh, you should do that at Boomers Forever Young.
Yeah, we should.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Make America boom again.
Boom again.
There you go. Yeah.
All right. Let's get into this.
So the reason, is that recently, we've had our, Robert Kennedy Jr. has been getting a lot of press because of his candidacy and what he's been talking about in regard to helping people be healthy. And he's a very, very robust, healthy person himself. And so he's been getting a lot of play on podcasts and talking about it.
Bob, have you ever seen the guy with his shirt off? He's jacked. He's got like a washboard stomach, and he's like really strong. I'm like, holy smokes, dude!
Yeah.
And he's
70 years old. Yeah, and he can still do 25 pull-ups.
Oh wow, that's great.
Yeah,
that's really. I know people 25 years old who can't do 25 pull-ups.
Yeah. He grew up in a very, very physically active family and has done a lot of rucking and all kinds of obstacle courses. And his family, when he was a kid, his family encouraged daring types of physical things, and he used to play tag on the roof of the house.
Oh my goodness!
So
yeah, okay. This was not in the current times, everyone. Could you imagine, like, what are the neighbors doing again? Oh, the kids are playing tag on the roof, and you'd have the SWAT team out today.
Yeah, no.
Oh my God.
Yeah, well, I have a story where I had a friend that bought a new house and had a swimming pool, and his insurance agent advised him that not to have a diving board, because if he had a diving board, no insurance company would write insurance for his house. And so he's like, yeah, that's no problem. And he said to the kids, if you want to dive into the swimming pool, just go upstairs and climb out through that window onto the roof and just dive off the roof into the swimming pool.
Oh, man.
And so I was over there one day, and that's what the kids are doing. It's like, okay, he's got his insurance.
Yeah.
And he figured out a workaround.
Oh, yeah. And the things I did when we were kids. I mean, oh, my goodness. Yeah. So we're lucky to be alive. But, Yeah. Anyway.
But the whole thing about making America healthy again, a lot of it, is just, people taking responsibility themselves. But you also have a big influence from agencies and business in the United States that in some cases can make it easier for you to be healthy, and in some cases can actually make it more difficult because there's, all types of people have different self-interests. But, there's always a possibility that at the very top of these agencies, there can be reform. And, the biggest of these agencies in terms of scope is the Department of Health and Human Services. And, there's a Secretary of Health and Human Services that has a lot of influence on what happens and what affects directly our health. One of the agencies under the department is called the Agency of Toxic Substances. And that's a really important agency. There's, you know, thousands of toxic chemicals that are in our environment. Some of them are actually put into our food, knowing that they're toxic. Substances that have been banned in most other countries in the world that are in the food in the United States. And um, that agency has a lot of effect over the general health of the population because you most of the people in the population are not super health conscious and educated, and so they just eat the food that is there, that's easy, convenient, fast food, highly processed foods, very sugary foods, foods that are made with seed oils, and all these toxic substances are allowed in our food. So, the Department of Health and Human Services has a big effect in this case. It can be a negative effect. Of course, they do keep some toxins out that they're successful with, but in some cases not.
That's
But
an
also,
interesting topic. A lot of people listening may not be aware of this. Many people are, Bob, that in Europe, uh, there's a lot of things that you can buy in the grocery store here in the United States that are banned in EU wide and also in other nations also, like down in Australia, different places, some South American countries, and stuff that's commonly sold here, commonly you give your children, it is banned because it's been determined to be, like you said, toxic substance, some of them carcinogenic, all kinds of crazy stuff that's in our food. And I do believe that's because of money and the lobbying, without a doubt. But yeah, that's definitely a problem in this nation.
yeah, and you have, creative people that um, during the First and Second World War had come up with really great technologies for making things that would be used for axle grease and things like that. And later, when the wars were over, they needed a marketplace, so they got approval to put the axle grease into a form of food. And so, you
Hmm.
know, a lot of people that used to be eating butter, which we know is very healthy for you, the grass-fed butters, contain C15 fatty acid and a lot of other good triglycerides, but they were replaced with other substances, and we were told that butter was bad for you, and this axle grease was actually better for you. And so, for many decades and still ongoing, people are consuming things like that.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize. I mean, if you're listening right now, I'm going to ask you a question. Do you know what canola oil is? Canola what's a canola? What's canola? Canola oil stands for the Canadian Oil Company, which was, like Bob was saying, I'm not sure if you're referring to this one directly, but in Canada during World War II, because they were part of the Allies, they were running low on lubricants, right, for their tanks. To lubricate gun barrels, to lubricate gears, and all of this, axles, you name it. And so they used something from a plant called, I think it's rape. It's the rapeseed plant, and they crushed the rapeseed and extracted this oil, and they went into massive production. It fulfilled all their needs. They were using it for everything, but it was unsafe for human consumption. And then they realized after the war they had geared up all this production. They had all of this product. They could make it. What do we do with it now? Because there wasn't a demand, and they played with it a little bit. I think they changed something in it, did something, changed like one molecule, and it's like, hey, this is cooking oil. Yeah, that's what it is. It's cooking oil. And so people started like cooking their food, frying their food. And you'll literally hear people, Bob, say, oh, canola oil. Use something healthy like canola oil. I'm like, oh, that's freaking axle grease. But that's true. True story. And it's not just canola. I'm sure, Bob, you know of some others, but there were multiple products like that were slipped into the food chain for monetary reasons that were really, really not good for you, aren't good for you, and were never intended for human consumption. Flat out.
Yeah. Yeah, very true. So no doubt you want to be aware of what's toxic and what's not, and hopefully in the future we'll have an opportunity for that agency to make some reforms. Also, under that Department of Health and Human Services, you have the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, which people may have heard things about back in 4 or 5 years ago. You also have the Medicare and Medicaid services. Medicare is a huge part of health in the United States. The way things are paid for, what's covered, what's not covered. You also have the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, is under that department, and the National Institute of Health, along with all of their institutes. So it's a huge, huge infrastructure of of departments and agencies to have an effect over what happens not only in in our country but in other countries as well. There are countries that pattern themselves after our own agency decisions. Uh, and you also have the environmental aspects. The environmental toxins, you know, are also, a part of the Environmental Protection Agency, and so that's another agency that has an effect. But that's separate. It's an independent agency from the Department of Health and Human Services. But these are some of the agencies that are important, including the USDA, the Department of Agriculture. And that's a huge one, Phoenix, in regard to agricultural policy and who the policies favor in terms of the size of the company, the size of the acreage, their allowance of certain practices of agriculture that destroy the soil, and the use of pesticides and GMOs, the promotion of what the FDA allows, the promotion of the pesticides and GMOs, and this leads, to favoring of the creation of certain types of foods like the seed oils that we were just talking about, and they get subsidies, and those seed oils are incredibly inflammatory. The corn oils, cottonseed oil, grapeseed oil, the canola oil we talked about
Hey,
are.
real quick, Bob. I've
Yep.
always wondered, what about sunflower oil? Same thing?
Yep.
Okay.
It's toxic also,
Oh man,
and so
if you like fish and chips and you're listening from the UK, most of your fish and chips are fried in sunflower oil. Just so you know.
yep. And oils also um, can be can be okay in certain states, but in other states they're not, meaning a state of being. So certain oils are stable and okay for you when they're at a certain temperature, but they very quickly become really bad for you when they're heated up too fast. And in Europe, they do take great care in certain countries to protect the integrity of their oils. So if you go to Belgium, for example, and in the Netherlands, they have systems for frying their food where they actually test the oil that they're using, and they have very precise ways of heating the oil very slowly and not past a certain temperature. They're trying to avoid the transition of the fats in the oil from a cis fat to a trans fat. And they have polarity detection devices they can put into the oil that will tell them when and if it's flipped into a trans fat, and then they'll change the oil at that time. I used to do that at a business in New York that was called Fry It Right, and myself and a couple of business partners of mine commissioned a man they called the Frying Dutchman to come to the United States and teach us to cook food the way that they did in Belgium. And and we had the polarity detection device, so we could tell people, if you'd like this fried food, it's been cooked the same way that it's cooked in Europe, and this is what it is. And people really liked it, and we bought super high quality oil that was never rendered into trans fats. And so there's ways that you can, like, it's like with everything, a hamburger can be really great for you if it's grass-fed organic meat, but it can also be terribly toxic if you overcook it. So there's a lot to the science of all this, but the USDA is an agency that is not super in favor of subsidizing or helping with sustainable regenerative agriculture, and they hopefully in the future will be much more supportive of that, so that in general people will be able to afford and also have better access to higher quality foods that aren't ultra processed with highly toxic compounds that create tremendous inflammation.
Yes.
And part of what's happening when people eat this standard American diet, which the dietary guidelines come from the USDA. Some people call it the SAD diet. The SAD diet, is very high in sugars, very high in toxic fats, and it creates tremendous inflammation all throughout your body, including lots of inflammation in your brain. And the decline in people's IQs in certain countries around the world, including the United States, is correlated with the onset of these ultra processed foods that create inflammation in your brain. And one of the big things is there's a lot of an acid in these types of foods that it's called linoleic acid, and there's too much. And the way they came up with the guidelines for how much linoleic acid to be recommended, for example, to be put into baby formula, was what they did was they measured the amount of linoleic acid in mother's milk. And they said, okay, so if that's what's in mother's milk and we're going to make formula, we're going to mimic the percentage, the amount. Well, that was all nice, but what about the fact that the mother is very, very high in linoleic acid, much beyond where you would want a healthy person to be. But in the United States, we consume so much of it with these processed foods. Mothers are toxic to begin with. So they took the metric of a toxic mother's milk and mimicked the formula from that.
That's interesting. I'm sure many of our listeners right now can relate to a toxic mother. Not sure. And maybe some of them can. What? Just making a point of reality here. Please continue.
Yeah. And so this is the way that certain agencies make decisions about very important things, because you think about, pretty much every child at one point in the United States was drinking baby formula, and that toxic amount of linoleic acid is just one thing that's wrong with it. But once we started with those guidelines and they're like, okay, it needs to be 20% linoleic acid. Well, if you look at the diet of the people that are some of the healthiest people in the world, like in Japan, right, their consumption of linoleic acid is 1/5 of that amount, right? And linoleic acid tends to make up part of the cells of your brain. And the more excess of it that you have, the more you have in your brain. And even if you consume enough of the good fats like DHA that you really want in your brain, there's no room for them. The linoleic acid has already occupied the space. And so you have to be aware of what to reduce as well as what to increase. And the DHA, which is another acid which is really good for you, is in really high amounts in the fish, and particularly the raw fish that the people in Japan consume. There's very low linoleic and very high DHA, which is real important for your brain. It's important for your eyes, and it's really important for producing electricity in your brain.
And I know someone, Bob, who went on a trip to Japan for 2 weeks earlier this year. It was in the spring, early spring, and he told me he and his wife, one of the things that they noticed, he said it was like really noticeable that the entire time they were in Japan, they went to all different prefectures, the East Coast, West Coast. They traveled around over 2 weeks. He said none of the Japanese people were overweight. He said none. They don't remember seeing one single man, woman, or child in Japan who was overweight, but the only overweight people they saw were tourists from other countries. And it like stood out to them. And he said, and you see them, you'll see some of these people that are like smoking cigarettes. Some of them are like eating ice cream or candy. He said, it's not what they eat. There's something else going on there. I'm sure with the healthy foods, like you're saying, big difference. But yeah, it's noticeable that they are one of the healthiest populations, without a doubt.
Yep. Yep. And there's also, a big issue with sugar. If you go into the grocery store, the center aisles are filled with breakfast cereals that are absolutely filled with sugar. And, you have a child that gets up in the morning and they're given, a sugary cereal that also has lots of linoleic acid in it, and maybe a donut, and some non-organic orange juice that has pesticides in it, and then you send them off to school. And it's no wonder that the overall IQ has been coming down, in certain countries like the United States, and the sugar also is, still to this day, Phoenix, about 25% of all the calories consumed in the United States is from drinking soda pop, and which is filled with high fructose corn syrup, which is toxic to your brain and creates inflammation all throughout your body. And inflammation is the precipitating factor as people get older, and now much younger and younger, to all of the diseases that are chronic diseases. And the majority of the budget of the United States for healthcare costs, which is about a little over $4 trillion a year, is for chronic diseases that were caused by people living for a number of decades and at least recently consuming very poor quality food that seems to get worse and worse every year. Too much.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, so I was just going to say, too much sugar, too much linoleic acid, not enough exercise, etc. And it's a formula for disaster.
Oh, without a doubt. One thing also in Europe, there are some nations, Russia particularly, GMOs are against the law. You cannot
Hmm.
import them. You cannot do anything with GMO. They've been totally banned
Hmm. Yep. Yep.
for the health
So
of the nation.
there's a lot of factors to be considered in regard to this, but those are, some of the agencies that are, ripe for some modification to make it easier for people in the United States to be healthy. Right now, the average person doesn't really have much of a chance. And
Well, you know what? It's shows like you're doing the products that you have, and education like this because if you realize what's going on and the dangers that we face. I mean, literally walking into a grocery store uneducated and unknowing about what you're grabbing, especially if you're hungry and you're just like following, what the commercials say or your friends eat or whatever, it's deadly. It's a deadly path. You have to truly self-educate and take a little bit of time. And it doesn't take that much time. It's not that hard, everyone. A lot of people, Bob, I know they're like, oh, I'm going to have to sit there in an aisle and read every label and do this and that. It's not necessary. I mean, yeah, reading labels is important, but you can self-educate. And actually, if you eat healthy, and I know there's people listening right now can attest to this, you can go in a grocery store and be in and out in no time at all, and have nothing but things that are good for you.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, one of the other aspects of this is not just agencies, but the way that industries interface with those agencies and what they're allowed to do and not allowed to do. And if you just look at the whole system of healthcare, the way it's designed, and with the doctors being the ones that are making the decisions as what to do to help people, and the industry of the pharmaceuticals that they prescribe, and the way that the drugstores are structured, in the prime real estate everywhere you go. If you drive around St. Petersburg, Florida, every main intersection that you come to has at least one big box drugstore,
Wow.
and they're built like banks, right? Banks are built big to look like they're strong and important. And now they do that with the drugstores. We're here, we're solid, we're important, and this is where you come, where we get to lay the good stuff on you that was prescribed, over teledoc. And that's the other thing that's happening now. You have these telemedicine centers that are very easy to access. But I can tell you this, when you call a telemedicine center, they offer one thing: prescription drugs, right? There's no, there's never any advice that comes from those telemedicine centers about prevention or lifestyle modification. It's okay, this is what we're going to, we'll send the information over to your drugstore. And the main question that they have is, are you still using the drugstore on the corner of 5th and Main? And that's how they do it.
Hmm.
And and there's very little coordination. One of the biggest problems with our healthcare system is nobody's in charge. Uh, People will have 5, 6, 7 different doctors. They go to their general practitioner for a checkup, and he sends them to the podiatrist and the cardiologist and to the neurologist. And the next thing you know, the person's spending half their days going to the doctors, and the information is not in one place. And people don't know how to access their portals. They don't know how to manage their own care. And this aspect of no one being in charge, where things fall through the cracks and things get prescribed that are contraindicated, and people end up with polypharmacy, is a really big drawback, from the way our health system is designed.
Yes.
And then you have doctors that are called hospitalists, where they only work in the hospital. They don't see any patients outside the hospital, but they're there to take care of you when you're in the hospital. And so what that's done now is it's taken the person's regular doctor that they might have known for years, and they end up having to go to the hospital. Now completely different doctors taking care of them.
Yeah, I tell you what, the system has changed, so much, and it does need to be revamped. Make America healthy again, without a doubt. There's a lot of work to do, Bob, to totally revise this system and make it truly health oriented, with alternatives. And there are some nations that are leading in this out there. I won't mention any of them right now, but I'm sure you know a couple of them. Because we're talking about, make America healthy again. And it's the driving force behind all of this, everyone, is, spoiler alert, money. It's all money, big money. I mean, the thing gets me, Bob, you'll see all these advertisements on television, during the breaks of these different things for some drug, right? And they'll show these beautiful images, people running through flowers, hugging their loved ones, playing with puppies. And, in the background are saying, real fast, real low, they're giving all the dangers, use this product may cause sudden death. Use this product may cause your eyeballs to fall out. Use this product, blah, blah, blah. Talk to your doctor if you have a squeaky elbow. I mean, it's crazy. And then what will happen is all these things will come out. They'll get very public. They'll be pushed by all the doctors, literally, because and I'm being quite honest, there's kind of kickbacks going on there, trips and all this. And they do this kind of funny. It's like, oh, yeah, come to the Caribbean at this 5-star hotel, this summer, and you can be part of this conference to talk about this new drug that we're giving, and we'll explain it. It's a kickback, and it's all money oriented. And then what we see sometimes on the same programs, will be another commercial for a legal team, for like a law office. Have you been hurt by this prescription? Were you prescribed this back in here? Was this procedure done for you? If so, you are due. There's a major medical lawsuit ongoing right now. It's crazy. So they make money on the drugs going out. And then when it's discovered, like, okay, yeah, we got to stop this because too many people are getting harmed from it, then the lawyers take it over, like, thank you for our next case, boom, and then they get in on it. And it's like it's money on the beginning side, money on the ending side, the healthcare side, and unfortunately, some cases there's money on like the funeral side, which is a real sad thing, because there's a lot of, I forget the stats, but I forget how many people die every year because they were given wrong prescriptions. I think you touched upon that, the problem with no coordination. Would you call it a counter pharmaceutical, or what do you call that? Counter something?
Polypharmacy and medications that are contraindicated.
Yes, there you go.
So, yeah. And the more you have, more medications you have, the more chance for it. But, another problem, and it's been changing recently, which is why, there's room for hope in all these areas, is the free flow of information. There is certain information that's absolutely true, scientific facts, like what we've been talking about today, that can be, categorized as malinformation. And we will see, I believe, going forward, more and more places like Twitter that will be putting out information for all to consume that'll help us to move to the next stage, really, that I wanted to talk about, which is what do we do about this if we're an individual that wants to be able to thrive and be able to avoid and opt out of this morphic field of illness. You want to begin to focus on gathering information that will help you with your prevention and help you to thrive. And you had Robert Kennedy talking about his, as we were saying earlier, about his physical activity, his physical fitness, and he talks about physical toughness, like being serious about it. Like, hey, I'm here on the planet. I got a mission to do. I have God's work to do, and I better be tough because you have all of this stuff, right? That's swirling around that is not going to be for the faint of heart if you want to really thrive in this world. You're being the systems are set up so that that's not likely for you. And so what he's saying is you better be tough and you better be physically fit and you better not back away from anything that might appear to be difficult. And so he's not only a guy that has a lot of knowledge about all the agencies and business interests and all that, but he's also himself a very spiritual, very encouraging type of man that is like, let's do, what are we going to do right now to be tough, both physically and mentally? How are we going to keep our attitude, strong and forward looking? And how are we going to thrive? And so he, exercise is obviously one of the biggest things, and it doesn't have to be intense exercise every day. A lot of the new research shows that if you do some fast walking and you do some step ups, you can be really healthy just with those two exercises. There's something magical about walking up the stairs, so to speak. And if you don't have stairs to walk up, you can make a little platform, step up, step down, but do that a few times a week and exercise your legs that way. And then exercise your heart, your circulatory system, and your muscles by doing some type of aerobic exercise, preferably where you would walk really fast for about a half a minute and then walk moderately for about a minute and a half, and then walk fast again for a half a minute, and repeat that 8 times. This reminds me, Phoenix, we got a testimonial the other day from this lady who was 68, about to be 69, and about a month ago, she used to go out for a 3-mile walk every day. And she started taking the Myotrol product, and a month later, she's doing a 6-mile walk every day.
Nice. Very good.
Yeah, that's a lot of walking.
Very good. Yeah. I've often told people are like, oh, I got to really cut back on this, and I just can't seem to lose weight, and I don't know about this. And, it's important to know exactly what we're eating, be conscious of it. But many times, and I've told people, it's not what you eat, it's what you don't do. Because I know people eat very, very healthy, and they're not in very good shape. And they're like, oh, I don't know, I really watch what I eat and this. I'm like, yeah, but what do you do? It's not what you eat, it's what you don't do. And what you're not doing is getting physical exercise. You should do it. I try to do it a minimum 5 times a day. No, 5 times a day, 5 days a week. And Saturdays and Sunday, do a little recovery. But yeah, you got to. Make time for it is so important. You'll work better, you'll be a better person, you'll be able to serve your community, serve your family, you'll be there for people when they need you. Like Kennedy says, you need to be strong because of everything that's going on in the world today. We definitely do.
Yeah, absolutely. And, and along with the exercise, just be really smart about, the sugar, the seed oils, ultra-processed foods. Try to eat whole foods of a wide variety. Use healthy things that have been invented. I eat food every day from a company called the Whole Food Pharmacy, which is the pharmacy spelled with an F for farm. And then, of course, I take sprouted barley seeds every day, the gladiator barley, and you can help a lot. So a lot of things we talked about with toxins and inflammation, you can mitigate a lot of that if you have food that has anti-inflammatory properties and detoxifying properties. And so that's one of the things that I make sure I never miss is drinking my drink that has powders in it that are mixed in water, because not only do I know that it's good food, but I know what's in it that's also helping cover up for any of the toxins I'm exposed to. Because, um, as soon as you walk outside, you are walking in the parking lot, maybe across the grass. You are picking up tire dust on your shoes. You're picking up pesticides on your shoes. You're breathing in tire dust. You're breathing in toxic fumes from the cars that are going by. And so you're constantly exposed to toxins. And it used to be a lot worse when all the gas was leaded, but it's still bad. And so you need to consume compounds on a daily basis that are constantly cleansing you and restoring you. And so I use the sprouted barley seeds for that, and zeolite, which is a liquid that you put a drop on your tongue and it will help get all the heavy metals out of your body. So detoxifying is a really healthy thing to do. And if you pay attention to your food, your nutritional supplements, your exercise, you're going to be much stronger. You're going to be in possession of this physical toughness. So if you have to do things, move things, there's an emergency, there's a hurricane, and you gotta move all the stuff out of the downstairs floor of your house that got flooded, and you have to move it out quickly to the curb. Otherwise, it's starting to, get moldy. You might have to rip out the walls, the floor. This are the things you've got to be ready for, and keep a positive attitude about it. Because you know that you're strong and healthy and tough, you can keep a positive attitude. Yeah, we can do this, and you can stay in the moment and not ruminate about things from the past. Hey, that was 2 weeks ago, that was 3 weeks ago, but instead, here's what we're doing right now, and here's our joyful anticipation of the future. Another thing that Kennedy said was also you need to be daring, like he was saying his parents taught him to be daring. And it's what it really is it's about going forward, going toward. And if you get into the habit of avoiding things that you might perceive as challenging or might cause some degree of pain or anxiety, you get into that habit, and then your energy is kind of an energy of shying away. Whereas if you can train yourself to go toward what's difficult and take it as a challenge and sharpen the saw of your psyche and your energy so that you can tackle things that are more difficult, what happens is it changes the whole dynamic that's going on in this one part of your brain, the amygdala, and it literally changes it, and it changes other neurochemistry. And you actually will develop a habit and also a sense of accomplishment whenever there's a challenge that you move towards. And the more you do it, the more you get reinforced that this is a good thing. And you end up, forging your soul in fire this way. And we're not talking about extreme things that you have to do, but just the whole attitude of moving toward what's hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very true. And then they're done that and still try to do it. And we all should. We all should. The difficult things, the hard things, because life sometimes a little too easy, and that's one of the problems we're having. The convenience in grocery shopping, the convenience in fast food, the convenience of like, oh, well, I'm not going to work out today. I think, look, there's a movie on. Click, and you turn on a movie. A little bit too much convenience. We must separate from the mundane and the easy and challenge ourselves that we can be the best that we can be. Absolutely true, Bob.
Yep. And I think that, if people want any help from us, Phoenix, it's really easy to do. We have people that answer the phones at our business. We've been in business 13 years. And the people that are answering the phone live right here in our neighborhood and been doing it for many years, including you might be able to speak to Jim Lee, who is going to be 89 on his next birthday and has been working with us since he was 80. And it's just as healthy as can be. Other people that work with us, Stephanie and Lucy pick up the phones. We'll answer the phone Monday to Friday from 9 to 5 Eastern. And you can leave a message and they'll call you right back during that time period if they're all busy on the phone. And if not, you want to leave a message on the weekend, you can do that and they'll call you back on Monday. If you have any questions about your health, your plan for your prevention and your plan for thriving, they can not only help you with the nutritional products, but help direct you to our free podcasts and blogs about every aspect of health, including dealing with depression or anxiety or using techniques that help with trauma, reorganizing your beliefs that you might have gotten stuck in. We have podcasts and training videos on all of those things as well.
Also, everyone, if you want a quick and easy link, go to PatriotIntelReport.com. Click on the lady in the blue lightning storm on the left-hand side. That'll take you right there to Bob's site. That's PatriotIntelReport.com. And the lady in the blue lightning storm. Bob, how about this? Give us some phone numbers, some contact information if people want to visit. And after you do that, how about some closing thoughts and words of wisdom as we roll out, as we're attempting and hope to make America healthy again?
There you go. So our 800 number is 861-4609. And if people want to come visit, you can. We don't have a storefront, but we do our own fulfillment. So all of our products are here. And if you want to come by and visit, you can pick products up here. If you let us know ahead of time when you want to come. If you just show up, you might not catch us because we're not always in the office. We're out and about at meetings and doing other things as well. But we're at 5401 Central Avenue in St. Petersburg, Florida. And it's, we have Sarasota to the south and Clearwater to the north. And across the way is Tampa and Orlando. And so we're right there on the Gulf Coast, and we're halfway between the beach and downtown, which is, we're about maybe 4 miles from the beach where Central Avenue is, where 5401 Central is. And just give us a call on that 800 number if you want to stop by, and I'll be happy to meet up with you. And I would just say in closing, Phoenix, we got a weekend here and a week coming up of historic proportions. And one way or another, there's going to be a lot of activity, a lot of energy. Some might be positive, some might be discordant. And human beings are very, very sensitive energy systems. And even if you don't think you're being affected by stress, you probably are. So stand guard at the doorway of your energy system and be very careful what you're allowing in and where you're allowing your mind to drift to in terms of shoulds and shouldn'ts and that type of thing. And try to spend extra time with your meditation, with your prayers. Use the emotional freedom technique to stabilize any anxiety. Use havening to stabilize any anxiety. And you can learn to do those techniques from our website. And just whenever there's a time, whether it is astrological or physical on the planet, or the two coming together at the same time, you want to be aware of that, and you want to watch yourself from a distance if you can. If you want to learn how to do that very quickly and easily, go on our website, click on the podcast and blog section, and click on self-care. And inside there is a technique called the Ultimate Mind Calming Exercise. This will be your best friend during times of heightened energy that might contribute to you not being as healthy as you could otherwise. And it'll help you to find a meta position from which you can observe how you're doing, observe yourself, so to speak, and then give higher self guidance to your physical self in order to create a smoother and more coherent energy pattern for you to live with and in as we go through this period of transition in the world.
Very good, Bob. Thank you so much. Let's make America healthy again, without a doubt. Again, great topic, great information, as always. Everyone, be sure and give Bob a call. If you have any questions, visit the website, PatriotIntelReport.com. Click on the lady in the blue lightning storm on the left, take you right to Bob's site. And Bob, I really appreciate it, and thank you so much, and so happy that you guys are faring better and things are getting resolved after those hurricanes, and also with these interesting days we have coming forward. I hope things are nice and peaceful and calm for you and everyone there at Boomers.
Thank you, Phoenix. Yep. Have a really wonderful weekend, and I'll look forward to our next talk.
Thank you so much. I will too, Bob. So that's it, everyone. Yeah, let's make America healthy again. What a time we live in, okay? You need to be the best that you can be for yourself and for those whom you love, without a doubt. And how can you do that? If you just missed it, you can listen to the broadcast again. You know what? As a matter of fact, share this with people. Send this video, this audio out to friends that may want to hear it, and it may help some people, and it's much appreciated. And again, don't forget to give Bob a call or check out some of the products if you haven't already. Until the next Patriot Health Report, everyone be well, be strong, and again, let's make America healthy again. Until next time, God bless, and Phoenix and Bob out.